So you just filmed your first YouTube video and now you're staring at your footage thinking, where do I even start? Hey, my name is Nate and I've been editing for over 11 years, and today I'm breaking down my simple 10-step process to turn raw footage into a finished YouTube video you're proud of. And yes, this will work no matter what editing software you use. So let's jump in.
You gotta just press record.
Before you even open your editing software, we need to get organized. I know, you want to jump in straight into the fun part, but if you skip this, you'll be pulling your hair out halfway through your edit. So the first step is getting your footage onto your computer. If you filmed on your phone, you can plug it in through a USB-C cable or AirDrop to your computer. If you filmed your video on a camera, remove the SD card, pop it into your computer or card reader, and copy those clips into your footage folder. Now, don't edit straight off your SD card. It's slower, less reliable, and can corrupt your files, so always copy it over to a separate folder. Now, create one main folder on your desktop named after the title of your video. Inside, you want to add subfolders for your footage, B-roll, audio, graphics, anything that you might have that is necessary to your video. This will act as our project hub. Everything that we will need for the video lives inside this one folder. And if it's an important project, you might want to consider backing up this footage to an external hard drive. That way you have a separate copy in case something goes wrong with your video files. Now, this might feel like overkill now, but when you can instantly find the file you're searching for, you'll thank yourself. Now that we have our files nicely organized, we're going to then move to step number 2, and that is importing into your editor. Now, there are several different editing softwares you can choose. I'll leave a link in the description down below to some of our favorites. In this video, I am going to be using DaVinci Resolve, which I recommend because there is a completely free version of Resolve that you can download. Regardless, the process is going to be very similar, so you can still follow along this video even if you're using a different editor. Once you open up your editor of choice, you want to import your clips into a media pool, sometimes called a project bin. In DaVinci Resolve, I like to make sure I'm on the edit page, and up in the top left corner, we can drag and drop our whole folder straight into this media pool. By dragging this folder over into the media pool, we still have everything nicely organized that we can begin editing our project. Now, if you ever need to add a new folder to organize something like screenshots or B-roll, you can easily create a new bin inside DaVinci Resolve. It's just a fancy word for a folder, but go ahead and right click, create new bin, and keeping your files tidy is going to make your whole editing process a lot faster and easier. Think of this step as packing your suitcase before a trip. You're laying everything out so you can see exactly what you've got before you're putting the pieces together. Now that your footage is in your editor, it's time to build the foundation of your video. And there are two main ways to start arranging your clips. Number one is dragging everything at once into your timeline. If you shot in chronological order like a vlog, you can simply select all your clips in the media pool, then drag and drop them into the timeline. This gives you a rough version of your video from start to finish instantly. From there, you can go back and trim out the parts you don't want or remove clips entirely. The second way to import your footage is to use in and out points. If you filmed out of order or want to avoid dragging in a lot of unusable footage, all you gotta do is double click on a clip in your media pool to preview it. Then you can select the end point of where you want the video to start by pressing the I on your keyboard. Play your video back until you reach the end of your clip and press the O to create an out point. Then you just drag and drop this clip into your timeline. This method keeps your timeline cleaner and saves you from having to delete a bunch of extra footage later. Whichever method you use, the goal here isn't perfection, it's to get all your main footage or your A-roll in roughly the right order so you can start shaping it. Think of this step like pouring concrete for a house. It's not pretty yet, but it gives you a solid base to build on in the next steps. Which brings us to our next step, and that is to cut out the fluff. This is where our video really starts to take shape. You want to go through your footage and ruthlessly cut out anything that doesn't serve your story, your video, or your viewer. This is where we can take that long hour recorded A-roll and cut it down to a nice concise version that is going to be a lot more watchable. And as you are cutting down the video, here is a few mindsets that I like to keep in mind as I am editing. Number one, your viewers don't care how much effort you put into a clip. They only care if it's helping them or entertaining them. If it's not doing either, cut it. Another mistake I see a lot of beginners make is leaving too much dead space in their video. So you want to zoom in on your timeline so you can clearly see and trim out that dead space. Don't be afraid of having a shorter video. If your 15-minute long recording ends up becoming a tight 7 minutes, that is a win. I like to think of the step like sculpting. You're removing the excess to reveal the final shape of your video. The more intentional you are here, the more likely your audience will continue to watch your video, which will increase your audience retention and thus your views. Now, cutting out all the fluff can take a while and is extremely tedious, especially if you've never done it before. But one of my favorite tools to help speed up this process is today's sponsor, Gling. I use Gling all the time because it literally does this first step for you. All you have to do is upload your talking head footage and Gling will automatically remove the silences, the bad takes, and any awkward pauses. It'll transcribe your video so then you can edit it like a Word document. You can highlight a sentence you don't want, press delete. It's a lot more intuitive, especially if you're just starting out. And personally, I find it so much easier than scrubbing through my timeline and finding the right spot. Once you're done with your video, you can download the cleaned up video, or you can export it into your editor like DaVinci Resolve and still have control over your final edit. This tool has literally changed how I edit videos, saving me so much time in the process. If you want to get started for free, just click the link in the description down below to see how much time Gling AI can save you. Once you got your rough cut, it's time to think about the most important part of your video, the first 30 seconds. This is where most beginners go wrong. They make their intro too long, too slow, or just too boring. And viewers are going to click away before the real value even starts. So instead of your video starting off like, hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm gonna be talking to you about my favorite adventure ever. It's called No. You want to skip all that and jump right into the good stuff. If you're filming a vlog, lead with your best moment, the most interesting or dramatic clip that you have. If you're doing an educational video like this, then you want to provide value right away. Tell them exactly what they're going to learn in this video. If you're filming a podcast or interview, use a strong soundbite from later in the video as a teaser. Think of your video hook like a movie trailer. You don't want to give everything away, but you do want to make them excited to see what's coming up next. If you want a full video breakdown on scripting the perfect hook so your viewers actually stick around, I got a separate video on that. I'll leave a link in the description down below if you want to dive in deeper. So now that we got a great foundation to our video, we want to start thinking about the visuals of our video. And you can do that by adding in B-roll. And if this is the first time you're hearing B-roll, it's simply supplemental footage layered on top of your main talking point shots, which is also called A-roll. Think of A-roll as you telling your story and B-roll is showing it off. So instead of just watching you talk, viewers actually get to see what you're describing. And an example of B-roll is if I am mentioning a camera, I can show a close-up of that camera in my hands. If I'm explaining how to use software, I can overlay a screen recording of the steps. You can also download B-roll from stock footage sites. It's great when you can't film something yourself or you're too lazy to. And if you are curious, I'll leave a link to our favorite stock footage website in the description down below. Now, not every video needs B-roll. If you have a podcast or doing interviews, then you can probably just get away with A-roll. But regardless, I highly recommend adding B-roll or visuals to help illustrate your points visually rather than just relying on your audio. Which brings us to our next step, and that is adding in elements that make your video feel alive, and that is music and sound effects. Now, a few tips on adding in music to your video. Number one, don't have your music too loud. Have it roughly around a -30 dB. You just don't want it to be too loud where you're straining to hear what is being said. And number two, you don't want to just grab any song you like. You want to use copyright-free music. Because if you don't, you might risk getting a copyright claim, lose monetization, or even have your video taken down. What you want is royalty-free music, and you can go to websites and license different music for a small subscription price. And again, check the link in the description to some of our favorite music and sound effects websites in the description down below. Now that we got things sounding good, let's turn our attention over to making things look good. After shooting your video, sometimes the color and exposure can look a little off. And we can improve the look of our video with color correction and color grading. And it's important to note the difference between the two. Color correction is about fixing problems so your footage looks natural. Think of adjusting white balance, exposure, contrast. And color grading is the creative part, adding a look or style to your footage. For beginners, I would focus on color correction first. If you find your video to be too warm or too cool, this is a white balance issue, and you want to adjust your color temperature until your skin tones look natural. Same thing with exposure, make sure your image is not too dark or too blown out. And if your videos are looking a little flat, you can add some contrast to make your video pop. Now there's a lot more in depth you can do with color correction and color grading, but let me know in the comments down below if you want a full video breaking down color grading in DaVinci Resolve. Now that your video is looking and sounding good, before you export out your video, I want you to watch it through all the way from start to finish. This is your last chance to catch any mistakes before the world sees it. As you watch back your video, there are a few things you want to watch out for. Number one is check for typos. Make sure that things are properly spelled right and that your text graphic is perfectly lined up for your shot and not lingering on into a separate take. Number two is audio levels. Make sure that your voice, music, and sound effects are all nicely balanced. You don't want anything suddenly get too loud or too quiet. And also double check that your music and sound effects are safe to use and copyright free. That way you can earn that money.
I need that money.
One of the best things you can do is to get fresh eyes on your video. Have someone else watch it and tell you where things start to feel slow, confusing, or can be explained more clearly. In my experience, that feedback alone can take a video from good to great. Now, they may not be able to give you feedback, but by simply watching with someone else as well, you can immediately pick up on the tone where things start to feel slow. So I highly recommend doing that before you post your video. And with some of the feedback you receive, you might be able to make a much better video, which will hopefully translate to more views. Alright, so now that you finished editing your video, it's time to now export it as a file you can upload to YouTube. If you're using DaVinci Resolve, you need to tell it where your video begins and ends. So while you're in the edit page, go to the start of your video and press I on the keyboard to set an endpoint on your timeline. Then go to the very end of your video and press O on your keyboard to create the out point. This makes sure Resolve only exports the video and not any extra black screen at the end. Once you've done that, go over to the deliver page, and at the top left, type in a file name like your video's title, click browse and choose a folder to save your video to. I like to make a folder called export so I always know where my finished videos are. Then we need to choose our export settings, and here's the ones that I recommend for YouTube. First, make sure that your format is set to QuickTime, codec is set to H.264, and underneath resolution, if you shot your video in 4K, choose 3840 by 2160. And if you shot your video in 1080p, choose 1920 by 1080. Now, a bonus tip, 4K videos look better on YouTube, so even if you shot in 1080, it might be worth exporting out a 4K video so it actually looks a lot better on YouTube. And double check to see if the rest of your settings match mine. Once you've done that, click the Add to Render Queue button and then hit Render All. The computer will now process your video, and it can take a few minutes depending on the length of your video. And congratulations, you just edited your first video. If you want to dive deeper and learn DaVinci Resolve, I got a complete step-by-step tutorial you can find right here. I know you'll find it super helpful.